Chapter 91. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems that it has been solved. Ha ha ha, little girl, you don't have to hide all the time in the future. You can play outside freely. Rayleigh saw Finn's happy face and thought that he was happy because he solved the enemy. He would never think that Finn's happiness was just because he recruited a strange subordinate. Alas, this damn hobby, if Rayleigh knew, he would be shocked, but that guy is really annoying. He died, and Finn felt relieved. It's okay to look extremely wretched, but he dared to treat such a kind and super beautiful mermaid princess so shamelessly. When the pursuit failed, he used force to intimidate. He was so tasteless that he couldn't stand it. Solving this guy was just a matter of convenience. Finn came here for a serious matter. He knew that Princess Otoheim's observation hockey was born with it, which was very powerful and could sense the other party's thoughts and emotions. What's even more terrifying is that observation hockey can actually convey one's own consciousness to others, and even affect others' minds and thoughts, and change their values and thoughts. This is too terrifying, and it completely changed Finn's understanding of observation hockey. It is rumored that this high-level observation hockey cannot be obtained through practice. It is innate, and it is rarer than hero hockey. This is exactly what Finn is interested in, and he is very interested in strange powers and abilities. Although Princess Otoheim has left, Shirahoshi seems to have inherited this ability. So the most important thing for this trip is to find out whether this ability still exists and whether he can learn it. I wonder if Princess Shirahoshi has completely inherited your mother's ability? Finn couldn't help but ask curiously. What ability? Shirahoshi said with some fear. She wanted to avoid this topic in her heart. She always believed that her mother had that ability and used that ability to die. Observation hockey, or to put it another way, Shirahoshi, can you hear our voices? Ah, I can't, I can only feel vague emotions and the good and evil in my heart. Shirahoshi said a little. Finn was a little disappointed, but also relieved, and finally breathed a sigh of relief, disappointed because he couldn't see such an ability, relieved because he finally didn't have to worry about someone being able to hear the secret in his heart. The secret of crossing must never be exposed, and those who know it must die. Ha ha ha, it's really a powerful ability, that being able to feel emotions, simply distinguish between good and evil, and use it in the right place is indeed very powerful. But he can do it, so he is no longer surprised by it. Finn also wants to recruit such a person who is born with strong observation hockey, knowing that such an ability is very important for the top leaders of a force, but this person's identity cannot be exposed casually. He is in a situation now, and he dare not take him away casually. If he is exposed, it will make things worse, and Shirahoshi's identity meant that she would always be the focus of attention of giant sea kings. If she went out now, it would be too ostentatious, and someone with ulterior motives would discover her identity as the king of the sea kings. He didn't believe that him didn't know about Poseidon, the sea king, with such a strong potential. He didn't need to rush, just make friends with her first. Of course, he didn't give up, and wanted to see if he could learn something from her. What exactly affected the sea kings, who told him that he was most enthusiastic about this kind of special ability? It was just like opening a golden finger. As for how to make friends with Shirahoshi and this group of people, it was very simple. There was only one way, to help her get revenge. It would be best if the process of revenge was full of twists and turns, and he would take action when he was desperate and helpless. Obviously, Finn thought of Hody Jones, and when he thought about the fact that he had saved his life before, he really felt that this decision was too wise, so Finn decided to take action. Shirahoshi, your mother is great. She has a lofty ideal of promoting peaceful coexistence between fishmen and humans, and a strong belief. Whether a person is really strong or not, belief is crucial. I can feel the hidden hatred in your heart, which has not changed because of the death of Vanderdecken 9. Why is that? Could it be that your mother's death was committed by someone else, and you know who the murderer is? Of course Finn didn't feel it. He was just trying to bluff them, looking for a suitable reason, and wanted Shirahoshi to personally reveal the murderer. It's not appropriate for him to say it now. So many foresights will make people suspicious. At this time, Shirahoshi was a little panicked. His excessive kindness made his attempt to deceive extremely lame and unnatural. which could be seen through at a glance. Everyone also reacted, looking at Shirahoshi's expression. They all had some doubts. Really? At this time, Neptune was the most shocked. There was a hidden story behind his wife's death. How could he not be eager to know? Shirahoshi, hurry up, tell me, who killed your mother? Neptune asked his daughter hurriedly, looking at the hopeful eyes of so many people and feeling the kindness from the bottom of their hearts. Shirahoshi hesitated. Once again, he thought of his mother's instructions before her death, not to hate the murderer, but who can really forgive the enemy who killed his mother? Seeing Shirahoshi's hesitation, it was obvious that there was something unspeakable. They became more curious and guessed in their hearts, while quietly waiting for Shirahoshi's answer, especially Jinbei. He was even more indignant at this time. The assassination of Princess Otoheim was still vivid in his mind. Hearing that there was another hidden story, how could he not be furious? Shirahoshi, tell us, all of us can protect you. Shirahoshi looked at Jinbei and was shocked by his momentum, but he also felt his inner importance to this matter and was very grateful. It was Hody Jones. He killed my mother. Shirahoshi finally summoned up the courage to shout out the secret hidden deep in her heart. She no longer needed to hide it, and suddenly seemed a little relieved. What? Jinbei couldn't believe his ears when he heard the news. He couldn't believe that his longtime partner would do such a thing. It turns out that the confrontation between fishmen and humans was provoked by such a conspiracy. It's really interesting. The era conspirator Julent D. Finn finally had the opportunity to appear at this time, and finally made him feel that he had the opportunity to show off his skills and muscles here. He was thinking that as long as he made this matter public, with the help of Princess Otoheim's super high popularity, he could arouse their anger. Just think about the scene, when Hody took the murderous medicine and exploded, and everyone was in despair. He would turn the tide and deal with Hody. Just thinking about it, it feels great. But this time, Rayleigh can't do anything bad. Finn, who was so happy planning everything and felt like he was about to laugh, immediately forced himself to remain cool. However, Rayleigh still caught the small details and thought, this guy, is he gloating over other people's misfortune, or is he plotting something? Shirahoshi was also confused at this time. Is he so happy that the truth has been made public? Does he really hope that humans and Fishman Island can coexist peacefully? Good guy. If Finn knew that he could come up with these ideas, he would be so shocked that he would laugh like a pig. Chapter 92. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Through the news from the spy in the Dragon Palace, Hody Jones learned that the fact that he killed the princess had been leaked, and he was about to face the crusade of Jinbei and the Sea King army. In the dark corner, his eyes were full of urgency, his heartbeat accelerated, and he knew that the situation was critical. Jinbei, the Sea King army, they will not let me go. Hody gritted his teeth, and a panic surged in his heart. In an emergency, he quickly summoned all the members of the new Fishman pirates and delivered a passionate speech. Jinbei has reached an agreement with the Sea King army and plans to completely pacify Fishman Street. We must defend our homes and drive them out. We can also occupy Fishman Island, rule here, and get humans out completely. Hody said a lot of Fishman supremacy and how cruel humans are, condemning Jinbei and the king's decision to live in peace with humans. In fact, all he said was not as fierce as telling his men that others wanted to pacify Fishman Street. For ordinary people, the most important thing is their own interests. Faith and belief are too far away for them, and ordinary people don't have so many lofty beliefs and beliefs. Hody, fight them to the death, overthrow the rule of mermaids, and seize control of Fishman Island. Cadre Das, a loyal supporter of Hody, shouted loudly. This group of cadres are obviously the biggest beneficiaries of the new Fishman pirates, knowing that once the ship capsizes, their fate will be very miserable. They all shouted loudly to occupy the Dragon Palace, overthrow the rule of mermaids, seize control of Fishman Island, and realize the ideal of Fishman supremacy. For a time, the scene was extremely chaotic, with shouts coming one after another, vying to shout Fishman supremacy, as if this slogan was the truth. There is no end to the limit when there are more than 10,000 people, not to mention the gathering of tens of thousands of people. The crowd is surging, the atmosphere is tense, and the war is about to break out. At this moment, Jinbei, with the 3 princes of the Dragon Palace and the entire Sea King army, is ready to break into the Fishman Street and arrest Hody. However, they found that the other party had already made full preparations. In Fishman Street, the enemies were already ready to go, and their number was 10 times theirs. At this time, Finn and Rayleigh were still visiting the Dragon Palace. Rayleigh and Neptune were also old acquaintances. He had accompanied Roger to Fishman Island many times. Rayleigh, why do you say that the observation color can guide people's emotions and make people have a strong sense of identity? Finn could never understand, and no one could tell him the answer. Maybe this world has not discovered the practice method of this ability, or perhaps, there is no unified practice method for such top abilities, and it can only rely on personal understanding. This world is really full of countless possibilities. Different lives and beliefs determine the birth of different powers. The road to the strong cannot be copied. There are too many contingencies and accidents. Perhaps it is a natural storm, or an intoxication, which cannot be known, let alone predicted. Such a magical observation color really makes Finn jealous, but it is a pity that there is no way to study it. He can only sigh with regret and sigh at the magic of the world. I can't help but doubt that sentimental people are more sensitive and have a stronger sixth sense. Suddenly, the panicked voice of the attendant came. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. Boss Jinbei and the 3 princes have been captured by the Hody New Fishman pirates, and the Sea King's army has suffered heavy losses. Neptune was instantly panicked and shocked. Jinbei's strength plus his 3 sons were not the opponents of that group of rabble. This made him feel incredible and guessed that there must be some unknown secrets in the middle. Father, what should I do? Shirahoshi was obviously very worried about the safety of his brother at this time. He panicked and cried with tears, looking at his daughter, Neptune. His eyes suddenly became firm. Now as a father, he needs to stand up. After all, he has been the king of a country for many years. He knows what to do at this time. Looking at Finn, isn't this a powerful force? A conspirator of the times with a bounty of 3 billion is comparable to the existence of the 4 emperors. With this person's help, what can't be solved? Lord Finn, please help this country to quell this unrest and restore stability to this country. These rioters are orphans from Fishman Street. They grew up in a chaotic environment since childhood and hate humans very much. Afterwards, we will definitely give you a reward that satisfies you. Good guy, he is worthy of being the king of a country. These words are well written and national justice. This is to make Finn's young blood boil for justice. He also said that he hated humans very much. Isn't this clearly said to him? Let him know that the group will attack him afterwards, but fortunately, there is no time to talk nonsense, and he also knows that no matter how much he says, it is not as good as the benefits. However, such a set of punches come, it will disrupt Finn's calculations. What should he do with his plan? How can he wait for them to reach despair and show his power? But he didn't know how to respond all of a sudden. If he refused, wouldn't he appear to be hard-hearted? Wouldn't his long-standing personality collapse? Finn glanced at him indifferently, this seemingly unintelligent adult mermaid, and complained in his heart, good guy, you are going to teach me a lesson, right? The theme is that no one is a fool, right? You have seen through my little tricks, right? He glanced at the crying Shirahoshi again. He still wanted to witness the power of Poseidon, the king of the sea, and he might have to ask others for help in the future. Forget it, this is also a good opportunity to get closer to each other. No problem, leave it to me. Peaceful coexistence between humans and fishmen is also my ideal. I am happy to build a world without racial discrimination. Obviously, Finn is setting up a new personality again. It seems that he knows that the previous pie was not big enough, and it has risen to the peace and freedom of the people of the world. Good guy, he has grown up very fast. However, Finn really wants to create his own grassroots team on Fishman Island. After all, the new world is not a peaceful place. His small number of people is not laughable at the beginning. As for how to recruit fishmen, that's easy. Provide what you need most. If you don't want equality the most, then give it to you. Anyway, it doesn't cost a penny. It's just a verbal promise and a blank check. The business is getting more and more skilled. As for what will happen next for this new Fishman pirate group, it is definitely necessary to make the final decision to resolve the battle and control the situation instantly. Otherwise, if everyone runs away, how can he chase them? Rayleigh, let's go. Finn patted Rayleigh on the shoulder, and then motioned the ministers of the Dragon Palace to follow. Where are they going? Of course, they are going to greet his subordinates. How can he be the first to take action in such a matter? It's so cheap and not in line with his status. Finn and his party came to the place where the ship was moored. At this time, 10 Kung Fu sea cows were practicing the training skills learned from the 9 Snake Island, and Gree was also training with all his strength. He knew very well what kind of person the captain was. This was a figure comparable to the 4 emperors. If his strength could not keep up, he would definitely be eliminated, so he was also practicing desperately. As a new member, Mtlnove was shy and could not let go. Watching them from the side, Gree's original partner was recuperating because his injury had not yet recovered, and Xia Qi had gone shopping for a long time. Captain. Mtlnove was the first to discover Finn and his party because he was fine, tall, and could see far. Everyone also stopped and came up to say hello. Such a cute pet as Kung Fu Manatee melted the girl's heart at once, and Shirahoshi even forgot about her brother being captured. Finn looked at everyone and said directly, "Let's go, to fight. You guys just need to continue to recover and watch the boat." Kung Fu Manatee instantly ignited their enthusiasm when they heard that they were going to fight, and they also made several fighting postures, obviously fighting crazy bulls. So, a group of people went to the square of Fishman Island in a mighty manner, ready for a decisive battle. Oh, no, to enjoy the battle. Chapter 93. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Fishman Island square was crowded with residents. They were all waiting for the big event with a nervous mood. All this was obviously specially arranged by Hody, and the process was of course inevitable with coercion and inducement. He also sent his men to search for the whereabouts of Neptune and his gang, and had already closed the import and export channels of Fishman Island. He knew that as long as Neptune was captured and all the mermaids who ruled Fishman Island were killed, he could become the new king of Fishman Island with his long-term power and rule Fishman Island legitimately. At this time, Hody Jones was standing in the center of the square, giving an extreme speech to the people. He shouted at the top of his lungs that fishmen were supreme and humans were unreliable, trying to incite hatred among the people. The fishmen are the masters of the underwater world, and humans are evil invaders. They oppress and persecute the fishmen. This incident did resonate with many fishmen in the square, and evoked the unbearable memories of being cruelly abused and enslaved by humans. For a time, the crowd was excited, and voices supporting Hody continued. Of course, all this is actually true. Since Roger opened the Great Pirate Era, Fishman Island has once become an illegal place. Many mermaids and fishmen are not regarded as the same kind by humans. They are captured, abused, and used as slaves. Hody's extreme hatred for humans is the seed planted since childhood, because he has witnessed the cruel persecution of the fishmen by humans with his own eyes. It can only be said that he is a monster bred by the environment, gathering the hatred of the ancestors towards humans, and has been instilled with the idea that humans are evil and inferior creatures since childhood, so he hates humans and regards humans as grass. Extreme thoughts gradually twisted him into a monster-like existence, and he believed that the fishmen are the masters of the underwater world, and humans are evil and must be sanctioned. At this moment, this chaotic speech not only aroused the indignation of the group, but also affected Hody Jones himself. His eyes were full of fanaticism and madness. He was completely dominated by hatred and only wanted to kill all humans. On the edge of the square, Jinbei and the 3 princes were tied to a boulder with their mouths sealed. They looked at the fishmen around them helplessly, their hearts full of grief and anger. They knew that if Hody Jones succeeded, Fishman Island would fall into a disaster. Ha ha ha, Rayleigh, this guy really has some acting skills, even I almost believed it. At this time, Finn rushed to the square with a group of people and saw Hody Jones giving a speech, and couldn't help complaining. Hody, do you want to destroy Fishman Island? Do you want to drag everyone to be buried with you? Neptune was so angry that he trembled all over when he heard Hodi's words and shouted loudly, "As the king of Fishman Island, Neptune has a deeper understanding of human power. He knows that if the fishmen and humans go to war, the fishmen will definitely lose. Peaceful coexistence is just a luxury that the fishmen have no chance of winning. He is very conscious and knows that the weaker party is still jumping so high, fearing that others will not notice it. This is simply seeking death. He is very clear about the survival rules of this world. The weak need the protection of the strong. And the strong among humans are endless. As a minority, they survive in the cracks. The only way to survive is to rely on the strong. The king is coming," that the crowd was in an uproar. After all, as the king of a country, his long-term rule has indeed won him a strong prestige among ordinary people. A traitor who surrenders to humans is not worthy of continuing to rule Fishman Island. If you continue to be the king, the fishmen will never get ahead. Hodi obviously wants to defeat Neptune in one fell swoop in the name of justice, not only physically, but also psychologically. At this time, the left minister stood up and shouted loudly, "Don't believe him, he killed Princess Iji. The long-standing hatred between humans and fishmen was caused by him. This is the truth that Princess Shirahoshi has always kept in her heart. Is this true? Princess Shirahoshi is here too, she will definitely not lie. Boss Jinbei doesn't seem to be the person that Hodi said." That the crowd began to stir, and many people recalled Hodi's previous remarks. Thinking carefully, it was indeed not true enough, and it was indeed inconsistent with what they saw and heard. They began to doubt one after another. At this moment, many people who were present when the princess died were filled with indignation, and their faces were full of anger. Their beloved princess has been running for the fate of Fishman Island all her life. So much so that for her life and death, no one knows how many people have died on Fishman Island. Now that they are told that it is a conspiracy and a calculation of villains, then in the long run, their actions and the sacrifices of so many people will become a joke. For a time, they transferred all their hatred for humans to Hodi. Of course, there were some fishmen here who were indifferent to the events of the year, but now they also recognized that Hodi was the scum of Fishman Island. Hodi, scum, get out of Fishman Island. Get out of Fishman Island. A shout set off an uproar, and the crowd supported the king and expressed strong disgust with Hodi. People threw stones and spit at Hodi to express their anger. "Boss, what should we do now?" The chaotic scene at this time made some young fishmen who did not know the truth hesitate and began to reflect on whether what they did was right. Seeing that the situation was not good, morale began to decline. Hodi felt a little scared at this moment. He knew that if this continued, the situation would be difficult to control. "Don't be blinded by them, kill them, Fishman Island will belong to us." Hodi gave the order without hesitation, and was ready to directly wrap up his men, not giving them time to think, and launch an attack on Neptune and others. These cadres are all beneficiaries of the Fishman supremacy ideology. They all know that the winner has everything. They quickly conveyed their orders and asked their subordinates to rush to Neptune and attack. Seeing this, Finn knew that the opportunity had come. "These fishmen were ready to do hard labor for me. I think Neptune would not have any good feelings towards these traitors who dared to resist his rule. If I come directly, I might have to be grateful to him, especially now that many people have known the truth about the death of the princess, but they have been obeying Hodi's orders for a long time, so that these people dare not resist. He believes that as long as the enemy leader dies, they will definitely scatter and flee everywhere, but this is not okay. If they all run away, he will be in vain." So, facing the fishmen rushing over, Finn did not hesitate to release his domineering aura at full power. In an instant, the pressure between heaven and earth was like a mountain, and the fishmen fell one after another. This aura, which was stronger than Rayleigh's, had an immediate effect, leaving only the cadres of the new fishman pirates struggling. Hodi faced Finn's powerful pressure and realized that he had no chance of winning at this moment. So, he and his men took the murderous medicine one by one without hesitation. After swallowing a lot of medicine, their eyes turned scarlet, their breath became deeper, and their strength became stronger. Obviously, they were ready to do everything for victory and entered a state of life and death. Chapter 94. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gree, go and test this guy's strength. Finn said to his men, and waved to the Kung Fu Manatee group and pointed to the opposite side. The little guys understood instantly, and even couldn't wait. They had fought in the sea before, and they were unhappy. Now they have the opportunity to continue the competition, and they are all very excited. Gree stepped forward to confront Hody, while Kung Fu Manatee quickly surrounded the cadres of the other new fishermen pirates and prepared to start a group battle. What's going on? Why are they all lying down? That the onlookers began to ask curiously. Obviously, they had never seen such advanced things as conquerors hockey for the first time and didn't understand them. For a while, everyone whispered to each other and discussed the mysterious scene happening in front of them. However, it was obvious that no one among them could explain this magical phenomenon, so the curious fish people could only watch silently, and the mystery of this battle made them more and more fascinated. Why can't I see this person's future? Mrs. Xia Li suddenly found that her ability was invalid, and she was at a loss for a moment. Just like the ability that you rely on suddenly disappears, people will always feel uncomfortable and panic. What kind of conspiracy or dream do 3 billion era conspirators have? And they are so young. Such people have never appeared in history. Mrs. Xia Li was full of questions. Mrs. Xia Li looked at the strange lineup in front of her again: Kung Fu manatees, giant fishmen, humans. What kind of people are they to treat so consistently? Mrs. Xia Li felt very interesting and became more and more curious about Finn. Obviously, Finn's worldview is completely different from this world. His concept tolerates animals that have wisdom and can communicate, and regards them as species like humans. For creatures that cannot communicate, they survive in the laws of nature according to primitive desires and follow the rule of the jungle. Such creatures will be treated like beasts by him. In Finn's view, any intelligent race should enjoy the same rights and status as humans. Gree was gritting his teeth and holding on, barely avoiding defeat. The reason was simple. Hody had no moral principles and chose to take drugs. If the effect of the drugs wore off, it was still unclear who would win. The Kung Fu Manatee group was now adopting a siege, and they had mastered the armed color. These fishman cadres had no way to fight them, because they could not break the defense at all, so they were beaten without any resistance. Wow, Master Finn, how come your group of manatees are so powerful? Where did you find them? Shirahoshi saw that the Kung Fu Manatee was completely suppressing the cadres of the new fishman pirate group. Shirahoshi was obviously very happy at this time, with stars in her eyes. She couldn't help asking Finn. Finn smiled slightly when he heard what Shirahoshi said, and said, Kung Fu Manatee is a special race in Alabasta on the Grand Line. They like Kung Fu and have a strong fighting talent. They are a group of very interesting little guys. Shirahoshi was very envious after hearing what Finn said. She really wanted to raise a Kung Fu Manatee. Little manatees, come on, beat these evils. Someone shouted, and then there was a deafening sound in the crowd, cheering for the Kung Fu Manatees. The visual impact they brought was too strong. The cute pets knew Kung Fu, and even gods couldn't stop them. Although they didn't understand, they could also feel the excitement in the crowd and the recognition of them. For a moment, the little manatees blushed, and were immersed in such shouts, forgetting that they were still fighting, and didn't notice that these cadres were moving closer to Hody. This really pitted Gree. Seeing this, he quickly avoided Hody's fishman karate move, the rough shark, and also moved closer to the manatees. Can you focus a little bit? Don't hurt me like this. Gree couldn't help but complain. It was really this group of little guys who were so intoxicated by fighting that he was also surprised, and reminded them loudly. In an instant, the group of manatees woke up and found that Gree was the only one left around. Where was the enemy? He was a little confused for a while, and then he saw the opponents who were taking drugs around Hody, and rushed up in a hurry. Gree was not to be outdone, and continued to fight with Hody. However, this time, Gree was not so lucky. After taking the drugs, Hody's strength increased significantly, and he directly pressed Gree to bombard him. Gree could only rely on his agile skills to dodge, and was obviously powerless. Fortunately, Hody's mental state dropped greatly at this time, and he was not so flexible, but it was not something Gree could fight with now, because he would be seriously injured if he failed to dodge once. Under Hode's continuous attacks, Gree still didn't dodge completely. He was hit by the fishman's karate skill and fell to the ground. He rolled several times before he could barely stop, and blood was flowing from his mouth. This also aroused the man's competitive spirit, especially his captain, who was revered as a god, was still watching his fight. This was not okay. If he lost like this, it would definitely leave a bad impression on the captain. Thinking of the captain's previous siege by the navy and the world government, he was able to kill them without leaving a single piece of armor. As a subordinate, he couldn't lower the combat power of the fleet. At this time, there was no other idea, only the blood in his heart, and he directly ejected and fought with Hode again. But although the situation improved a little this time, he was still not an opponent. Fortunately, he adopted a roundabout tactic in time, so he was barely undefeated and didn't dare to fight head-on. As for Kung Fu Manatee, this time, it was not so easy. Facing this group of fishmen who seemed to have taken drugs and were not afraid of pain, he was also suppressed and beaten. Because of the armed color resistance, he could still maintain his undefeated status for a while. Ha ha ha, Finn, aren't you worried about your crew? Rayleigh saw that Finn was still watching the show. It was obvious that his men were no match for him, and he didn't help. He couldn't help but said with some worry. Ha ha ha, Rayleigh, this is the inevitable experience of growth. Don't worry, everything is under my control. The battle had been going on for a full 10 minutes. At this time, Gree was covered in wounds, but he was still supporting himself with a tenacious will, while Hode was getting more and more impatient. He chose to take drugs again, and this time he almost took half a bottle. At this time, Hode almost lost his mind, and was as fierce as a beast. Gree could no longer resist Hode's attack, and he was beaten back again and again. Kung Fu Manatee also gradually fell behind. They also began to have wounds on their bodies, and it was obvious that their armament hockey was almost used up. Finn looked at the situation and felt that it was almost over. If they continued to fight, both Gree and Kung Fu Manatee might be in danger, especially now that Hode had lost his mind and became extremely fierce, like a beast, so he shouted loudly, Gree, Wix, both of you come back. Gree and Kung Fu Manatee stopped fighting after hearing Finn's order. Then, Finn directly released the Conqueror's hockey, which once again made Hode and others feel extremely uncomfortable and had to give up the fight. They wanted to rely on the fierce medicine to stimulate their ferocity to fight against the Conqueror's hockey, so they took all the remaining fierce medicine. Under the impact of the Conqueror's hockey, Hode and his men fell into a violent state. Their strength began to surge, but they also completely lost their minds. They even tore the fishmen around them and even their companions into pieces. Ah, monster! Seeing this scene, the onlookers of the fishmen were very panicked. Seeing this, Neptune shouted loudly, Don't panic, Lord Julent D, Finn will help. Ah, really? Such a great man among humans will help us. Due to the long-term ethnic confrontation, these people did not have much expectation for humans. They were a little bit unbelievable when they heard the king say this. Finn looked at the expressions of the residents of Fishman Island and realized that it was time for him to take the stage. This time, he not only had to show strong military force, but also had to be recognized by the residents of Fishman Island, so that it would be easier to recruit people next time. For better visual effects, he directly chose God of War body second styled gun god, and his arm turned into a black gun barrel, which looked very brutal. Maximum cannon fist wave pulse. Finn punched out, and the armed color shock wave was like a tide, carrying the momentum of overwhelming mountains and seas, sweeping towards Hode and his men. In an instant, the captain and cadres of the new Fishman pirate group were all hit and directly hit into the rock wall on the edge of the square, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Chapter 95. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finn's unexpected punch defeated Hode and his gang before they could react. The large-scale collapse of the rock wall showed that the power of this punch was very huge, and up to now, there has been no news of any movement from these people. Obviously, they are no longer alive or dead. This sudden scene immediately made the surroundings fall into a dead silence. All the fishmen present were stunned and looked at the scene in front of them, and they all took a breath. Gree was also surprised, and his heart was full of admiration. He knew the opponent's strength very well, especially in the end. Even if he risked his life, he would not be able to defeat Hody Jones. Finn is not a devil fruit ability user. Like him, they are all practicing physical skills, but he only used one punch to solve the battle. Obviously, he is far ahead of him in physical skills, which is really out of reach. How did the captain develop such strength? Can I learn it? Gree couldn't help but ask secretly in his heart. Such ability really attracted him. Finn's ability to release armament hockey really opened everyone's eyes. After a short silence, the crowd began to have a heated discussion. What kind of ability is this? Is it a devil fruit ability user? Hey, did you see what happened just now? That this was completely beyond their cognition. They looked around and couldn't help asking the people around them. In fact, it's not their fault that they are shallow-minded. It's really that there are very few people in the Grand Line who can harden armament hockey. Only a few strong people can comprehend it. What's more, the release of armament hockey is not common in the whole sea. For them, this is simply a fantasy, a Superman-like existence, isn't it? Isn't Finn's current strength a Superman to ordinary people? Maybe if he says he is a god directly on a closed and backward island in the New World, people will believe it. This was the first time that Gree witnessed Finn's second style, Gun God. Such a strong long-range attack capability really made him feel incredible. His understanding of physical skills was still at the stage of melee confrontation, and his level and knowledge were not enough to clearly interpret Finn's ability, but this did not prevent him from feeling fortunate at this time, because the strong man who made him admire was his captain. He was sincerely happy about the same physical skills. He also became more determined, and his inner belief that he must become stronger must not disappoint the captain. Don't keep standing there, I don't know what to do now. Finn looked at the stunned people, and he must have felt a little secretly happy in his heart. This result was not what he wanted. But he still reminded them. In fact, he was mainly reminding Neptune, although the matter has ended perfectly, it is time to capture those rebellious fishmen. He is still waiting to recruit some people from them later. Yes, yes, yes. Neptune also reacted at this time and immediately ordered his men to arrest and detain them first. As for how to deal with them specifically, they will wait for the subsequent trial to decide. Jinbei and the three princes were rescued by the ministers after Finn took action, and now they are all bandaged. Finn also thought about whether to take advantage of the heat of this incident and recruit some people around, but after thinking about it carefully, he decided not to rush, and discussed a specific plan with Rayleigh before making a decision. Anyway, he can't run away, and he just defeated the evil enemy as the embodiment of justice, and he can be said to be a hero who saved Fishman Island. He believed that his attitude of turning the tide and the exaggerated bounty would definitely impress these fishmen, so he decided to let the bullets fly and let the heat continue to stir. After the battle, a group of cute kung fu manatees also surrounded Finn, dancing and describing their fighting postures, their eyes full of excitement. Finn looked satisfied and touched the heads of the kung fu manatees one by one. The kung fu manatees were also very happy, scrambling to get close to Finn and express their love. These kung fu manatees have been full of admiration for Finn from the beginning, and regarded him as an idol. After a long time of getting along, they gradually regarded Finn as a very close person. There is no way, who told Finn to be really good to them. Not only did he not discriminate against them, but he also took better care of them. These simple-minded little guys are so easily moved by kindness. Of course, they can also correctly perceive whether it is true kindness. This makes our mermaid princess very envious. She also wants to touch these special little guys who know kung fu, but she is not familiar with them now. What should I do? Princess Shirahoshi, how can these little guys? How about that? Isn't it awesome? Finn felt the love from the girls for the cute pets, so he took the initiative to say. They are really awesome, each of them is a powerful warrior, it's really great, I also want a partner like this. Shirahoshi also came over and took the opportunity to touch these cute pets, making these young manatees blush with shyness and feel embarrassed. Ha ha ha, it seems that they like you too. Finn saw it and knew that Shirahoshi really loved these special little guys from the bottom of his heart, so he was happy, but Finn would not give it to her. This is his crew member, future bodyguard, and the team's combat unit and most loyal partner. No one can leave. Things ended here with Finn's final word, a KO with one punch, which was a perfect ending. As for the follow-up matters, he would not worry about it, believing that they could handle it themselves. Rayleigh, you said I should bring all these fishmen who are going to be imprisoned here, and then find an island in the New World to develop it. What do you think? Ha ha ha, it's also a good idea. Rayleigh was stunned for a moment, then laughed. During this time together, he has gotten to know Finn a little bit. He has no interest in One Piece and seems not to be the person Roger predicted, but this does not prevent them from getting along well. He is old, why should he care so much? He thought Finn would seize the territory by force, which would inevitably lead to a series of conflicts, so he didn't want to follow him. At his age, he didn't want to fight Finn to death. If Finn wanted to find an uninhabited island to develop himself, he would find it very interesting. He has not experienced building a territory from scratch. The feeling of a country, of course, he didn't have to do the hard labor, so why not? Anyway, he didn't know where to go for a while. He had no objection to recruiting fishmen. He didn't have any so-called racial prejudice. As for pirates, almost no one cared about bloodline. He was also very happy to see Finn with such a purpose. If you think about plundering by force all day, it will only make others feel very stressed. In the end, you will be isolated and united by others to fight against you, and you won't last long. However, where do you want to build? The new century is not as simple as you think. Not to mention the extreme danger of the sea, the discovered islands have long been controlled by forces, and obtaining pointers is not a simple matter. Rayleigh said to Finn with some gloating at this time. He now likes to see Finn suffer more and more. Maybe Finn's strength is a little bit beyond the standard, and he can't control it. He can only find a sense of superiority in his knowledge. Chapter 96. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finn also knew that the New World was very large and far more dangerous than the Grand Line. So far, only the former Roger pirates had conducted a comprehensive exploration of the New World, so he was no match for Rayleigh in his understanding of the New World. The New World was usually guided by life cards or explored with the help of 3 pointers. Where did he get the life cards? And he was not interested in exploring the unknown with the unreliable 3 pointers. An old man in the family is like a treasure. This man is a living guide to the New World, so Finn has been trying to stick to him. Without Rayleigh, he would be a little blind. After all, he was not going to explore. His purpose was very clear, to occupy the territory, develop the territory, accumulate transformation energy, strengthen himself, and recruit personnel to continue snowballing. When he became strong, he would overturn the table and beat all those who did not obey. Now he has a clear understanding of his own strength, which is not inferior to Whitebeard and others, but they are all devil fruit users. Who will win or lose will have to fight to know. The battle changes rapidly. You can find the flaws of others, and others can also find your flaws. Only after a real fight can you know the results of the contest between different power systems. Therefore, Finn does not need to shrink now, but to do it openly. He already has the ability to counter the risks. Only by developing power, showing strength, and the spirit of the strong can it be easier to gain the recognition and allegiance of the strong. As for where to develop power, Finn and Rayleigh agreed that the base camp must be kept secret and there must be no undercovers, otherwise the world government will definitely come to the door. At that time, on the island, the strong men of the Navy and the world government will not have so many concerns, and they will definitely let go and kill with force. At that time, it is very likely that the world government will send a large number of strong men at one time, and it is bound to solve the problem at one time. Otherwise, if Finn escapes, their forces in the New World will not be able to escape. Therefore, they have to be very cautious in choosing a place. After all, he is not invincible. In addition, the world government will not fight him one-on-one. If they come, they will definitely besiege him. Finn knows very well that in the eyes of the world government, his priority is definitely higher than the 4 emperors, because he hit them in the face too hard this time. The world government will never let it go after so many celestial dragons died. They are the class that rules the world. If they can let it go, the dignity of the celestial dragons will be really destroyed, no matter what, in the future, as long as they have some strength, anyone can step on the celestial dragons, and who will take them seriously. Therefore, this is also the reason why Finn decided to recruit the fishmen, because racial discrimination makes the two races have irreconcilable hatred, and the fishmen are unlikely to be undercover agents of the world government. Finn also believes that after the riots are quelled, the fishmen will not be so resistant to his recruitment. What's more, he has already recruited a fishman underling, namely Watatsumi, who is a benchmark and a flag-like existence. Captain Ace, the fire fist of the Whitebeard pirates, has brought this group of people here, saying that he wants to visit you. Gree hurried over and said. Ace is here. Finn was surprised to hear the news. Fishman Island is very close to the Navy's sphere of influence, and it is indeed a bit unexpected that Ace took such a big risk to come to see him at this time. Finn thought to himself that Ace must have obtained Whitebeard's consent to come this time. Before, Ace's identity was exposed, and the war was known to everyone. He is now on the Navy's must-kill blacklist. It seems that I really made all parties very afraid this time, but it is also true that no matter how big the territory of the New World is, it will be divided up one day, and the strong need territory. It seems that Ace came here this time to figure out my attitude and purpose. Rayleigh, what do you think? Can I compete with Whitebeard's strength? Although Finn also knew that it would be difficult for Rayleigh to judge their strength, he still wanted to hear his opinion. Whitebeard is old now and only wants to live a quiet life with his sons. This time he used Ace's relationship to test your attitude. It seems that he is still a little afraid of you. Rayleigh said with a smile. Finn nodded. Rayleigh is indeed an old man and saw the key at once. Finn thought so too. Whitebeard is old now. Although he still has strength, he can no longer be like when he was young. Whitebeard still holds this idea. Even though he is the world's #1 pirate group, he is not afraid if a real fight breaks out, but Finn is not. If he were an ordinary person, even if he won, there would be heavy casualties. Besides, he is not the only one in the New World, there are 3 other families. If he is picked up by someone, he will want to die. Therefore, if there is no benefit in the battle, don't fight it if you can. This is the way to survive. After all, there will be casualties in a fight. The pirate group is not a stream of soldiers. It is maintained by long-term friendship. No one wants to suffer casualties because of meaningless battles. Of course, if you really want to fight, you will definitely not be afraid. After all, the world of pirates emphasizes the law of the jungle. The strong are respected, the winner enjoys everything, and dying in battle is the best destination for pirates. After some thinking, Finn has an idea about obtaining territory. Bring them here. Finn said to Gree. This time, Whitebeard was not so bold as to let Ace act alone, but sent Flower Sword Vista and Diamond Jaws to Fishman Island with a ship of people, but now Finn only has the 3 captains. Finn, long time no see. This time you made a big fuss. You are really strong, Ace bumped fists with Finn as soon as they met and said happily. Ace had already regarded Finn as a friend. After all, Finn saved him twice, once to resist Blackbeard and once to delay Kizaru for 3 days. He would never forget such a great favor. He also kept Rayleigh's help in mind. Rayleigh, thank you for your help before. I heard from my father. Ace thanked Rayleigh very politely. At that time, Whitebeard was able to enter the Grand Line smoothly, thanks to Rayleigh's help. If he hadn't delayed Akiji, it would not have been so easy for them to enter the Grand Line. With Akiji's ability, it is obviously impossible to defeat them, but just delaying them is not a problem. This also shows that the role of a power user, for a force, cannot be judged by combat power alone. Although Akiji is also very strong, his auxiliary role is too strong for large-scale group battles on the sea. With or without him, the combat strength of the Navy is completely different. Flower Sword Vista and Diamond Jaws also greeted Finn and Rayleigh respectively, and Finn and Rayleigh also responded politely. After all, these two are also well-known figures. After greeting each other, the atmosphere began to become tense again. Both sides knew that the friendly exchange was over, and the next step would be negotiations representing the interests of different forces. Chapter 97. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finn, what are your plans for coming to the New World this time? Ace spoke first. He had already determined that Finn was a friend, so he didn't intend to hide anything and planned to get straight to the point. Ha, don't you know everything about me? What else can I plan? This time I have offended the world government so much that of course I can only go to the New World to make a living. Then do you know the current situation in the New World? It's not peaceful, Ace said with some emotion, and then continued to explain the reason to Finn. It turned out that in a sea area not far from the territory of Whitebeard and Big Mon pirates, a new island suspected to have been shaken up by an undersea earthquake appeared. It has rich mineral resources and is not small in size, about the same size as Fishman Island. Afterwards, Whitebeard and Big Mon pirates continued to clash over the ownership of the island. Fortunately, the two sides were similar in strength and were relatively restrained. They knew that escalating the situation would not benefit anyone, so they just held on. After hearing this, Finn was a little puzzled. It seemed that there was no such plot in the original book. He thought about it carefully and suddenly understood that according to the original process, Ace is still on the way to hunt down Blackbeard. Local conflicts such as island disputes are commonplace in the New World. When the two sides are equal in strength, they can't fight at all. In the end, they are resolved through negotiations. Combined with Ace's stalemate, Finn knew that this matter was too small, so it was not developed in the original book. Where is the location of this island? Finn asked immediately. In the Central Sea area of the New World, not far from the islands controlled by several member states of the world government. Ace said. Finn's eyes lit up when he heard it. He knew that there were two best developed areas in the New World. One was Big Mon's Wangua, and the other was several member states of the world government in the center of the New World. This island is located in the center of the New World, not far from Dressrosa, and seems to be right between the two trade centers. It seems that the development value is extremely high. Finn values the convenience of trade. Not far from Dressrosa, he can easily trade with Doran Flamingo and use the trade network he has built over decades, especially in terms of geographical location. It is perfect. With the deterrence of Whitebeard and Big Mon pirates, there is no need to worry about the appearance of the navy. It fully meets his current needs, which can both develop and avoid being raided. Finn thought to himself, this is interesting. If we can get this island, it will be a piece of cake. Finn is very clear about how much resources he consumes to accumulate transformation energy. Before, in the Cloud Country, he consumed only 1/10 of the unopened resources of a country. He also took a look at the panel. Character, Julent D, Finn, age, 21. Qualification, LV5. Proud of the ancient and modern, 10000000, transmutation energy, 275000. Features, copper skin and iron bones. Skills, life return, observation hockey, armament hockey, overlord hockey, divine martial body, Lucian, gun god, fallen angel. Combat power, emperor level. The accumulation of transformation energy is far from the real transformation of qualifications. Judging from his previous consumption of resources in Yinwu Island, two poor places can't support him at all. This is also the reason for the slow accumulation along the way. As for taking a shot and change places, wouldn't it be a good idea to consume all the local resources every time you go to a place, and it would easily cause public outrage. Then what else can we do? Isn't there only one way left, to develop yourself, conduct trade, and make money to support yourself? However, when Finn heard Ace say that Big Mom and Kaido had formed an alliance, he was a little confused. This was not the plot he wanted. It was a mess, a complete mess. If these two formed an alliance, what would happen? It was hard enough to fight one, and two at a time. They were all tough and he was not sure. However, Finn still asked curiously, why did they suddenly form an alliance? It's all about you. One is that you are too strong and the New World is destined to be reshuffled. The other is that you saved me. Ace looked at Finn and said embarrassedly. Fuck, I'm shooting myself in the foot. Finn shouted in his heart speechlessly. He understood as soon as Ace said it. It seems that the rise of Ace broke the long-standing balance. In addition to his identity as the son of Pirate King Julent D, Roger, many strong men must have come here to join his team. This made Big Mom, who is closer, is under pressure, especially now that they are still in the conflict stage over the ownership of the new island. She is already at a disadvantage in terms of overall strength, and her disadvantage has been further expanded. That's why Big Mom took the initiative to form an alliance with Kaido. After all, Kaido owes Big Mom a huge favor for the fish fruit. Otherwise, according to the original plot, even if the two have an unclear relationship, they can't get together at all. It seems that this time the pressure from the Whitebeard pirates is really in place. Finn knows that Kaido and Big Mom have completely different dreams or beliefs as boss-level characters in the original work. Kaido was betrayed when he was a child and had a dark childhood, so he wanted to slaughter all the powerful people in the world and change the world. I don't know where I heard that people may become Joy Boy when they are dying, so I kept committing suicide and wanted to become Joy Boy. Finn also found it interesting. Is it so naive? Just a legend makes such a strong man flock to it. Big Mom is even more interesting. The shadow of her innocent childhood made her want to make the nations under her rule have people of all races and make everyone as tall as herself. Finn didn't know what to say. In this world, do childhood beliefs really have such a strong influence? Luffy and these two people are the same. Finn was indeed a little depressed. This was entirely his own fault. He meddled in other people's affairs, which led to the alliance of these two people with completely different beliefs, but he thought about it and realized that the most worrying thing now is the world government. The alliance of the four emperors will break the balance of power. The navy will have troubles this time. He couldn't help but gloat over it. Finn knew that Kaido was now a war fanatic. All the members of the pirate group only engaged in destruction, not construction. They were all unscrupulous villains. What Finn didn't know was that Drought Jack was becoming more and more presumptuous, making enemies everywhere, causing the wrath of heaven and people. Not only is he unhappy with the pirates, he is also extremely arrogant towards the navy. If he is unhappy, he will just start fighting. During this period, the navy has lost warships one after another in his hands, but Finn is somewhat coveting Big Mom's 10,000 kingdoms. It is a completely ideal country. In addition to paying the life tax, the citizens have a really high quality of life, and all the basic labor is done by homies. Ordinary soldiers are also made of chess pieces. Ordinary citizens do not have to serve in the military at all. No wonder civilians would rather hand in their life to stay, and this tax is not paid in vain, using part of their life to exchange for a higher quality of life. Isn't this the normal life of ordinary people in the real world? She also got a bunch of weird devil fruits, and the ability users actually used them for infrastructure construction. Is this equality for everyone? This alliance seems to be Big Mom looking for Kaido, but now it seems that she is going to be dragged into the water by Kaido. Finn felt relieved instantly. Finally, someone can share the pressure from the world government with him. He almost didn't have to worry about being attacked by the navy, because even if the navy won, it would definitely be a miserable victory, and they would definitely be beaten by Whitebeard and Big Mom who came over. The current situation is obviously that the four emperors and the navy have torn their faces apart, and they will never let go of any opportunity. Weakening the enemy is a disguised way to strengthen their own side. Chapter 98. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Big Mom and Kaido's alliance, the Whitebeard pirates, with the influence of Ace, have been joined by strong men born in the Great Pirate Era, and a new round of arms race has begun in the New World. Finn looked at Ace and thought, this kid is coming to me now, he must be thinking of forming an alliance with me. Shanks is so domineering, it is estimated that he is unlikely to form an alliance with him. Although the Whitebeard pirates are now numerous, it is impossible for them to compete with Kaido and Big Mom. After all, this is a high-level martial arts world where one person fights a country, and the strong can decide the direction of the war. Finn originally planned to rely on Ace's relationship to find a place to develop in the sea controlled by Whitebeard, and use Whitebeard's power to resist the navy and the world government together. He believed that Whitebeard would definitely be happy. After all, Ace was on the navy's must-kill list. Since Whitebeard used the power of the entire group to save Ace, it can be seen how much he values Ace. and it is obviously impossible to give up Ace. Therefore, he and Whitebeard now have the same enemy, and they are so powerful that no one can completely compete with them. He believes that his existence can make Whitebeard more confident to fight against the Navy, but that was Finn's idea before. Now, he seems to be able to offer a higher price, because he is now the final weight to determine the balance of power. Ha ha ha, that's a bit interesting. Finn laughed wildly in his heart, but pretended to be indifferent on his face. Ace, you came here specifically, not just to tell me this. Finn looked at Ace and said expressionlessly, although he is now very sure that Ace came to form an alliance with him. However, this cannot be empty talk. If Whitebeard is not sincere, it won't work. Who said he is a hot commodity now? Of course, the new island is obviously not included in it, because he has already booked it in advance. There is no reason for him not to occupy such a good place, especially since he is now the weight that affects the balance of power. Whitebeard would definitely have no objection, and Finn didn't believe that Big Mom would really not give him this face. Besides, it didn't belong to any party in the first place, and it was useless. Finn took it, which just happened to allow Whitebeard and Big Mom pirates to get out of the quagmire here, and maybe both sides would thank him. That place is really very suitable for him. There are resources and trade. Doesn't this mean a steady stream of wealth? Add to that the knowledge from his previous life, it is enough to bring a dimensionality reduction blow to this era. Although he didn't know how to make those industrial products in his previous life, he didn't need to know, he only needs to raise questions, and solving problems is the business of the people below. What does it have to do with him? He only needs to provide ultimate military protection, so that the people below can live with a sense of security and comfort. How can he care about all these details? Isn't he annoyed? At most, he will make suggestions and won't interfere too much. Whether it can be done or not, and how to do it, is the business of his subordinates, especially in such a chaotic situation. I don't know when the New World will start a war. But it was just what he wanted. Fishing in troubled waters was his chance. After all, heroes emerge in troubled times. However, he still needed to think carefully about how to maximize his benefits in this matter. Mom, new news. Julent D, Finn and Fire Fist Ace have already contacted Fishman Island. Charlotte Comper, the short, witty and meticulous intelligence host, hurried over to report. Oh, it seems that Whitebeard is really old. What do you think they will do? Big Mom glanced at Comper and said lightly. It seems that Whitebeard responded to our alliance with Kaido. It seems that he wants to win over this era conspirator with a bounty of 3 billion. That person has been on the world government's must-kill list and can only go to the New World, but he has no place to stay now. The most likely place is the island in conflict. Sure enough, intelligence workers have a strong ability to analyze problems and saw the key at once. He knew that Whitebeard would not give the territory that had already been divided to Finn again, and Finn needed such a territory to avoid the pursuit of the world government. He also learned that the Whitebeard pirates had not yet sent personnel to the island, and it seemed that they really intended to give it to Finn. Mom, what should we do now? Should we take the opportunity to occupy the island? No, like Whitebeard, we will evacuate first and take action when the situation becomes clear. Big Mom ordered to stay calm first, obviously afraid of Finn's fighting ability. The intelligence of Julent D, Finn this time. Have they all been confirmed? Yes, that's true. They can fight their way out of this scale of encirclement. Their strength is really terrifying. Moreover, their three-color domineering skills are all top level. It's incredible. And is Rayleigh sure to be in the same group with Finn? It seems so. Big Mom was even more troubled at this time. Finn was already difficult to deal with, and Rayleigh had to be added. This meant that the two of them would form a royal group. Without Kaido, they would be impossible to deal with. She began to feel fortunate for her previous alliance with Kaido. However, she didn't know that Kaido was a double-edged sword. Is it possible for us to recruit him? Smoothie, what do you think about a marriage? Mom, such strong people should not be married. Especially those with domineering, they have their own strong beliefs and dreams, and are pirates with real aspirations. Smoothie analyzed calmly. As one of the three generals, she has always been a strong and rational representative. Big Mom glanced at Smoothie, wanting to confirm her true thoughts. Seeing her serious expression, he was relieved. As she said, such a strong man would not marry under his command. Shanks, I heard from my subordinates that Mr. Rayleigh is going to the New World with Finn this time. What do you think their relationship is? I heard that this time, Rayleigh helped him fight against the Navy. Ben Beckman was also extremely puzzled at this time. He couldn't understand why Rayleigh was involved in this matter. So he wanted to hear Shanks's opinion. Shanks was also troubled at this time. According to his understanding, Rayleigh should be living in seclusion in the Sabaody archipelago now. He was old, so why did he get involved in such a high-risk and head-losing thing? How could he know that Rayleigh was completely tricked by Finn this time? He didn't expect that things would develop to such a point. Now he was desperate and forced to go to the New World to escape the disaster. Oh, it's really a troubled time. There are variables, big variables. Shanks sighed, feeling that things were becoming more and more complicated, completely out of his control, and he no longer had the momentum to strategize. Chapter 99. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the square of Fishman Island, Finn was making the final preparations for going to the New World, recruiting his men. He had already agreed with Ace to form an alliance, agreeing to fight against the alliance between Big Mom and Kaido together, and agreeing to send people to fight for the new island together, and it would belong to Finn, and the Whitebeard pirates would provide an additional 5 pirate ships, each of which could carry at least 1,000 people. Whitebeard also agreed. This little thing was really nothing. Therefore, Finn decided to recruit fishmen, and the number was set at 5,000, just enough to transport at one time. The number was not too large, so there would be no food crisis, and they were all fishmen, who could go to sea to support themselves and had strong survival ability. At this time, the square was full of residents of Fishman Island, and those in the square were all fishmen who had been arrested for rebellion before. Of course not all of them, but those who were willing to be recruited by Finn. There were about 20,000 people, all of whom had relatively little hatred for humans. They didn't know the facts very well and were deceived by Hody. Neptune had already informed them that as long as they were chosen by Finn, they would be free and complete self-salvation. At this time, whether it was the crowd outside or on the field, there were people who wanted to join Finn. For a time, there were crowds of people and shouts. They all hoped to be chosen by Finn and become his subordinates. Lord Finn, I want to follow you too. Choose me, choose me. Lord Finn, choose me. The fishmen who came at this time, whether ordinary residents or previous rebels, almost had no resistance because Finn was a human. Part of the reason was that the previous Hody incident made the fishmen realize that the hatred between fishmen and humans was a carefully planned conspiracy. They were just deceived and guided to have such a strong hatred for humans. Now that the conspiracy has been exposed, Finn has become a hero who cracked the conspiracy and the savior of Fishman Island. Coupled with the identity of a strong man with a bounty of 3 billion, he directly won the recognition of the fishmen, and they all wanted to join him. No one is a fool. They all know that a strong man like Finn is a person standing at the top of the world. Following such a person, one will instantly complete the transformation of identity and bring about an improvement in status. The boiling crowd in front of Finn surprised Finn himself, and he was extremely shocked. So many people were really beyond his expectations. He didn't expect that this day would come so quickly. With a wave of his hand, thousands of people followed him. He felt very comfortable in his heart. It was finally his showtime. However, this time, Finn would only recruit the fishmen who participated in the rebellion, because they should have been imprisoned and punished to varying degrees. He would be grateful to rescue them. In addition, this group of fishmen were all soldiers and had strong combat effectiveness. Finn did not need to conduct a strength test and could directly recruit them. After all, the New World was not suitable for the old, weak, sick and disabled, and such a scene, in his past and present lives, Finn had never faced it before. He was a little nervous for a while because of the admiration and shouting of so many people. Fortunately, he was strong and confident, and gradually began to adapt to such a scene. Quiet. Finn shouted loudly, and the domineering aura instantly covered the entire square. He deliberately controlled the pressure caused by the domineering aura, which would only cause a deterrent effect and would not make the weak faint. Then, Finn announced the news of recruitment. And told everyone below that everyone had the opportunity to become his subordinate and be protected by him. They would go to the new world together to build their own territory. Finally, he also revealed that he had formed an alliance with the Whitebeard pirates. The enthusiasm of the crowd was instantly ignited, and the emotions reached a peak. This was simply a pie in the sky. A big man with a reward of 3 billion personally recruited a team and provided protection. He also formed an alliance with the Whitebeard pirates. This is a force comparable to the 4 emperors recruiting people. How could they not be stunned? For a time, only a very small number of stubborn fishmen were indifferent, and everyone else was shouting to join. For these rebels, as long as they are normal in their thinking, they will know what to choose. In fact, these people have been initially checked by Neptune. The fishmen with bad character and unforgivable character have already lost their qualifications. For the last time, only the last 5,000 people who can withstand my spirit can get my recognition and protection, will not be discriminated against, and can breathe the free air of the outside world. That the crowd was boiling again, and the whole scene burst into warm applause and cheers, and people cheered. Start now. After Finn finished speaking, he did not wait for the fishmen to get ready, and activated the domineering, and the power was gradually increasing. The fishmen below the square were domineering. Under the pressure of the king's domineering power, they all showed symptoms of discomfort, depression, trembling, etc., but they all gritted their teeth and persisted, and no one fell. But the test would not be so simple. This was just the beginning of the test, just a test. Finn continued to increase the pressure of the domineering color, so, some people began to sweat constantly. It was obviously not easy to resist such oppression, and they began to have a strong fear deep in their hearts, but the opportunity was so rare that everyone took it seriously and resisted Finn's momentum in their own way. Some people clenched their fists tightly, their nails dug into their palms, stimulating themselves through pain to prevent themselves from falling. Some people clenched their teeth, and their struggling expressions were like they were about to bite through steel. Others squeezed their thighs, and their flesh was blue and purple, overcoming their inner fears in this way. Seeing this, Finn couldn't help but nod his head to express his affirmation. He didn't expect that the desire for survival of this group of fishmen was so strong that none of them fell, so he continued to increase the output of the domineering color. Suddenly, people began to fall down. The sudden increase in pressure caused the brain to produce a protective mechanism, forcing the fishmen with insufficient strength to faint. But even the fishmen who fainted had an expression of struggling to resist the pressure. Finn was sure of this performance, but he was not a saint and would not sympathize, because this was their fate. The opportunity had been given, and they did not seize it, so they could only blame themselves. In an instant, nearly 1/3 of the crowd fell down. And the rest were still struggling, and no one was relaxed. Then, Finn increased the release, and this time the pressure of the domineering color was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Most of the people began to fall down. At this time, the remaining number was less than 7,000, but Finn had said before that as long as there were 5,000 people, he would not change his mind, and changing his orders every day would only weaken his majesty. Therefore, he did not continue to increase the pressure, but maintained continuous output. Under the continuous pressure, one by one began to fall down gradually. 3 minutes later, there were just 5,000 fishmen standing on the field. Instantly, Finn cancelled the release of the overlord color. At this time, every fishman on the field was pale and sweaty, as if all the strength in his body had been drained. However, everyone's face was filled with joyful smiles, and they couldn't hide it. They understood that they had withstood the test, were recognized, succeeded, and no longer needed to be imprisoned, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone's eyes were focused on Finn. At this time, everyone's eyes were full of admiration. Such pressure was beyond their understanding, and this kind of strength made them worship him like a god. Very good, you who persisted to the end have overcome the fear in your heart, and your life has also been rewritten. Under my protection, there are no fishmen, only people, no racial discrimination, and no unfair treatment. Finn's words once again ignited hope in the hearts of these fishmen like a flame, shouts and cheers intertwined, and the crowd was boiling. The people who were not recruited also wore blessing smiles at this time, feeling happy for their tribesmen. Perhaps emotions were really contagious, and the whole venue was filled with joy. Chapter 100. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jinbei, you must be careful to keep Shirahoshi's identity. Don't let someone with ulterior motives find out, otherwise Fishman Island will not be able to defend itself. Jinbei was silent for a moment and nodded. He understood what Finn meant and the importance of Shirahoshi. I understand. Jinbei said with a firm look in his eyes, I will definitely be careful to protect Shirahoshi. Ha ha ha, then I'm relieved. In fact, Finn invited Jinbei to join, but he didn't agree. He chose to stay and protect Fishman Island. Maybe because of Whitebeard and their relationship, he couldn't do anything to join Finn. Maybe after experiencing such a big event, he knew that the strength of Fishman Island was still too weak to deal with a strong invasion, so he decided to stay here to protect Fishman Island. Despite this, Finn still told him everything he could say. So Jinbei knew that this generation of mermaid princesses was the one who had the power to change the world in the prophecy. This made Jinbei pay special attention to it. Being able to breathe the sunlight on the ground freely is the long-standing dream and pursuit of them. The fishmen, Princess Shirahoshi is the person who has the most hope to fulfill this ideal in the past 800 years. Jinbei has even decided to serve as the princess bodyguard. Finn didn't say anything. He understood that a man's responsibility is to protect what he wants to protect. Finn actually wanted to take Shirahoshi with him. After all, the identity of the King of the Sea, the person in the prophecy who appeared after 800 years of waiting, such a wait has already shown the importance of the problem. He also hopes that this power can be used by him in the end, so he doesn't want any accidents to happen. Finn, the ship has arrived and is ready to leave. Don't delay too long, lest you be surrounded by the navy. Ace reminded. Ace is not so naive now. He knows the weight of his head and knows that he and Finn are now thorns in the eyes of the navy and are definitely the top two on the death list. Now it is very close to Marineford, so it is best to solve the problem quickly. Although the sea area after leaving Fishman Island is very vast and the sea route is not fixed, it is difficult for the navy to effectively squat. In addition to the dangers of the sea, it is almost impossible for the navy to wait outside Fishman Island. However, everything is just in case. If the navy is determined and wants to find an opportunity, it needs to act as soon as possible, and there is no need to take this risk. Ha ha ha, good. Brothers, get on board and prepare to go to the new world. Lord Finn, we will see each other again, right? Shirahoshi said with tears in her eyes at this time. Obviously, no matter what the purpose of Finn's actions was, the result was beneficial to Fishman Island, and he had no ill will towards her, so she was grateful. When he left, he was still reluctant to forget the group of little manatees. There is no way, cute pets are so popular. During this period, Shirahoshi came to play with the group of little manatees almost every day, and watching them train was so interesting. The little manatees were also reluctant to leave. They shook their tails and waved goodbye to Shirahoshi. It is inevitable to feel sad when parting for a while. Ha ha ha, of course we'll see each other again. Captain Virgo, look, there are pirates coming from Fishman Island to the New World to entertain us. Ha ha ha. That the New World Navy G5 base patrol ship, commonly known as the Ruffian Army, is more like a pirate than a pirate. It is probably the Navy's attempt to fight violence with violence. There was a huge movement under the sea, and this group of Navy who had been waiting for opportunities near Fishman Island for many years and enjoying pirates became excited instantly. However, Virgo had no expression on his face. He knew that Finn and his gang were on Fishman Island, and he was not calm at this time. He was unsure and hoped that it would not be such a coincidence. This world is so magical. The less you think about something, the easier it is to happen, as if God likes to go against people. Virgo was looking at the bubbles under the sea very seriously at this time, wanting to confirm who the person was as soon as possible. Captain, we have reached the sea surface, but there seems to be a warship on it. That one Jinjian reminded Finn that this 80-meter tall fishman did not take the pirate ship like Finn and his group. because he did not need it. His current combat power is not enough to deal with powerful opponents. He does not even have domineering power, and he is still a child with an active mind. Finn directly gave him the task of lookout. This is a formal position on the pirate ship, which made him very happy. This is considered to be controlled by Finn. As a child, the more attention he pays to him and the more useful he makes him seem, the harder he works. He always likes to get affirmation and praise from others, especially from a strong man like Finn. Finn also understands the rules of this world. The strong are respected. What is respect? When, of course, he is a person of noble status. Don't people all want to be affirmed by such people? Therefore, Finn knew that he was no longer an ordinary person, but a person with his own aura and admired. This is the sense of distance brought by the difference in life levels. Oh, is it such a coincidence? I want to see who is so bold. He dared to wade in the waters near Fishman Island. Finn suddenly asked curiously. He was sure that it was definitely not a collective action by the 3 admirals of the Navy, because it was impossible to be so coincidental. After leaving Fishman Island, the ocean currents will randomly send ships to different places, and it is impossible to be accurately predicted so quickly. Therefore, Finn was sure that this was an accident. In this case, it would be easy to deal with. The Navy had forced him very badly before. Now he will take over this Navy team and go mining. As for the massacre, Finn is not so perverted. The previous madness was just because he felt desperate and it was an emotional vent. What's more, what sense of justice can ordinary Marines have? They are just tools to execute orders. Ha ha ha, they're coming up, little cuties. These G5 military ruffians are still rejoicing here. But they don't know that a shark is coming out from below. Only Virgo is unusually calm, staring intently. Vice Admiral Virgo, no. It's Julent D. Finn. The crew exclaimed, ah. A scream, quick, start the boat, run. For a moment, everyone on the warship worked together to control the ship for an emergency escape. Those who turned the rudder, those who raised the sail, and those who raised the anchor. It was definitely the most perfect cooperation in this life. All the actions were done in one go without a pause, but Finn had noticed them and heard their conversation. Finn knew Virgo, this guy, an undercover sent to the Navy by Doflamingo, and now the base commander of the Navy's G5 base. However, since he was an undercover agent, Finn could not care about these things. He treated him as a Navy and arrested him. Maybe he could blackmail Doflamingo in the end. Although the Navy was ready to run away in a few breaths, it took too long for Finn. After a few instants, several shadows appeared on the sea, and he was almost on the warship. However, he encountered Virgo's resistance. Finn did not intend to show mercy and planned to cripple and capture him. Cannon fist, a punch wrapped with 2-color domineering caught Virgo off guard. He wanted to take it with all his strength, and the fist hardened by the armed color was about to compete with Finn. He thought too much, and his arm was broken in an instant, and the fist hit his chest directly. Bang! The sound of the broken sternum rang in his ears. Virgo was punched to the edge of the warship, passed through directly, and fell into the sea in the distance. Finn knew that this guy was the most valuable. What else could a group of miscellaneous soldiers do except the value brought by mining, so he chased him. Master Finn, stop, I'm Doflamingo's subordinate. That I didn't expect this guy to reveal his undercover identity, but this place is indeed a bit far from the warship, so there is no need to worry about being heard by other Navy officers, but this has disrupted Finn's plan. He has revealed his identity. If he catches him now, doesn't it mean that he knows that this is Doflamingo's man and still attacks them? Isn't this not giving Doflamingo face? After all, in his plan, he has to use Doflamingo's trade network to trade. Then Finn thought, if he lets him go, wouldn't he catch Doflamingo's handle? And let him owe him a favor. So Finn punched again, but this time he used clever force and directly hit Virgo into the Navy warship. Hurry, run at full speed. Virgo also understood at this time that his master's face allowed him to escape, and he turned the fake into real, and started running directly.